Disha Agarwal, and as the president of the MCOM Committee of HR College, I would like to welcome you all to the live session with Ankita Mehta Surana on the topic Audit Your Way into the Big Four. Many of you are here with us for the first time today and must be wondering, what do we mean by a masterclass? If I put it out in a simple sentence, a masterclass is a lesson where someone who is an expert at something gives students. Thank you for joining us for this insightful session today. But before we start, I would like to introduce you to our esteemed principal ma'am, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, who has been a constant pillar of support and guidance for all of us. Her constant encouragement has always motivated us to push our boundaries and achieve excellence. I would also like to welcome the backbone of the committee, our vice principal in charge, Dr. Jaspreet Sodhi, and I would like to welcome the mastermind behind a successful series of masterclasses, the coordinator of MCOM, Dharti ma'am. Over to you, Jiva.
Well, to introduce our speaker for the day, I would like to welcome Aparna. The stage is yours.
Good morning, everyone. To start with a brief introduction of our speaker, Ankita Mehta Surana, she cleared all level of CA and CS in the first shot. Our speaker further on pursued law from Government Law College. Ankita kick-started her professional career with Deloitte and is now a practicing CA. Her love and deep passion towards teaching and mentoring students led her to be a successful CA coach. We would request everyone to send in their questions in the chat box, and when a doubt arises, the speaker will take them at the end together.
We have Jaspreet ma'am, if you would like to speak a few words.
Yes, good morning, everyone. There may be some network issue because I'm traveling. A very warm welcome to our guest. And I really appreciate the efforts put in by the MCOM committee for organizing these master classes and inviting such great speakers. Hope all the students will get inspired by the talk of the speakers. And if you have any questions, just put it in the chat box. Over to you, Disha.
Yes, ma'am. Moving this further, Jiva, can you take it up?
Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining in on a Monday morning. I know people are busy with their lives. Thank you very much for joining us today. I wouldn't make you wait any further. Let's find out how do you audit your way to the Big Four from none other than Ankita Mehta herself.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for the warm welcome. Jiva, Disha, Aparna, Dr. Jaspreet, thank you so much for having me here. I take this as an opportunity to help the HR students in some way that I can. So to give you a brief introduction, I did my articleship with Deloitte, and moving ahead, I joined BMR in Khaitan as a professional. From there on, there was always this liking to teach, and that is why I diversified myself into practice and have been teaching for quite a long time now. I can say a decade is quite a long time. So yes, what today we are going to talk about is audit your way to the Big Four. Now, who is this Big Four? You know, what is this so big about it? So we have PricewaterhouseCoopers, we have KPMG, we have Deloitte, and we have EY, Ernst & Young. So these are the 4 accounting auditing firms in the world which have their presence in almost every country we know about. Okay, so it is not just India, not just London, not just America, but every small country to the biggest nation, they have the Big Four presence. So the Big Four is quite important for us also from the point of view that we would like to take up jobs here, right? So why do we want to get into Big Four? One, and the most important, is exponential learning curve. Now, the learning curve here is so good that the exposure you get, you are not going to get anywhere else. Because of the international standards that are followed there, the international corporate structure that is being followed there, the kind of things that you will do at a Big Four in 1 year probably it will take you 5 years to do it at some other firm. So, the kind of clientele they have, the kind of problems and challenges that a Big Four faces is much different from a mid-size or a small-size firm. See, this today's interaction is all going to be about why do we have to join Big Four, right? So it's all going to be the goody part of the Big Four, everything which is, the pinky part, the shining part about the Big Four. Of course, there are cons. Of course, there will be long working hours, lots of pressure, work pressure, peer pressure. All of that is going to be there, but that is something you cannot avoid anywhere. Correct? If you are competitive, if you are ambitious, then this is the place to be. You have incomparable career trajectories. Incomparable. Why do I use the word incomparable? Because a person, he does something in Big Four, vis-a-vis a person who's doing something, the same kind of work in a mid-sized firm, the comparison is not there because he has probably used the international standards. He has used the global accounting standards. He's using the NACAs, the IFRS, everything. But a person in the mid-sized firm is still following the Indian accounting standards, and he does not have to think about the repercussions of the other accounting standards. Not required at all. For that matter, taxation, for that matter, your M&A, mergers and acquisitions. Opportunity to take on large amount of responsibility very early in your career. So, you are going to get so much work. You are going to be managing not just work, but also people when you are into a Big Four. Very soon, like probably in 2 or 3 years, the Big Four is going to put you as a group leader, as a team leader. The team would be like 3 or 4 people who have to report to you, and you are the supervisor, and thereon you will be reporting to a director or to a partner. And that is how you learn the people skills, the soft skills, the management skills that you so need if later you venture out onto your own. Correct? See, we don't want to be in a job forever. We may want to be, which is also fine. But if we want to diversify, we want to go into your own practice or your own business, then Big Four is the best stepping stone to it. You will work with incredibly smart and successful people every single day. See, the Big Four already filters a lot of people coming in, right? It's not accepting everybody. It's not like if there are 1,000 chartered accountants who've passed in this particular exam, all 1,000 get into Big Four. No, that's not practical. That's not possible. So they've already selected the cream of the cream. And if you are working with such kind of elite professionals, you are obviously going to be inspired to do better. There is annual assessment and promotion, of course. This is there everywhere, you will have annual assessments. You will be checked whether you are doing the right things the right way. You will be promoted, of course. But in Big Four, what the only difference is that either you move ahead or you move out. There is no stagnancy. You can't stay at one place for a very long time. Unlike government jobs or unlike the other public sector jobs you may get into, probably for 5 years, you are just the manager. But in a Big Four, this is not going to happen. You either pull up your socks, you are either good enough, or you have to exit. That's how it works. World-class experience and international opportunities, of course. A lot of students today want to work outside India. If you want to work outside India and you are looking for a job stability, Big Four is the place to be. Because Big Four has presence almost everywhere. America, London, your Africa, Australia, everywhere you're going to find a Big Four. So I can see the world and earn money. Good for me. Exposure to high-ranking client personnel, including executives. So, when you are working in Big Four, you are working with all these top companies which are featured in Fortune 500, which are listed companies. So you are already meeting a lot of good people. So what do you do about it? You do about it is you start networking. What you are going to do is you are going to network, which is going to be so useful for you when you are coming out of Big Four. Like I remember going through one of your videos, which happened with Mr. Nahata. where you all were taught about cold emailing and networking and how network is net worth. And it was such a eye opener. Like I really felt, had I heard this before, I could have gotten into so much faster, so much easier. I could have spoken to so many people, which I did not, because maybe it's your personal nature, maybe you are shy, maybe you feel, how can I ask? Just ask. Yes. If you know somebody who's into Big Four, just shoot an email, say you are interested. This is the kind of profile I'm interested in. Could you refer me, please? Don't think what is his benefit in referring me? Why will he do this for me, or why will she help me? The Big Four has their own referral systems, wherein if you take up the job and if you stay for like 2 or 6 months, the person who's recommended you also gets a bonus, a referral bonus. Good for you. Good for the person who's put in your resume. It's nice, right? You are networking. You're building up a lot of net worth to yourself, which is going to be so useful later in life when you want to practice or when you want to venture out. You have approval on your resume. Like right now, when Disha or Aparna introduced me, they said I've worked with Big Four. It has been such a long time ago, right? Probably 10 years back, I have worked with Big Four. Probably 10 years back, I worked with BMR. Now I'm into my practice, but I have a stamp on me that I'm a Big Four person. And the way I think, the way I do my work, everything has changed. Now I'm not a regular chartered accountant. I am somebody who is coming from the Big Four and have taken all the good things about the Big Four into my private practice. So when will Big Four employ you? How will Big Four employ me? Big Four does a lot of activities. So we do audit, they do debt offering, debt restructuring. There is major merger and acquisition transactions, all these big M&As that you hear about, everything that you read on the first page of every financial newspaper is handled by a Big Four. So advising a client on major implementation project or change in business, risk advisory, actuarial service, legal advisory, valuation, market research, tax advisory, you name it, they offer it. So it's like, an umbrella store. It's like a departmental store. You need anything, you go to the departmental store. If you are a company and you need any kind of work to be done, any kind of service to be provided, you simply walk into a Big Four office, get your engagement letter signed, and off you go. They are ready to work with you for anything and everything, providing you world-class services. So if Big Four has such a big standard to maintain, it will expect a lot out of its people. Please understand that, if you are selling something, the quality of the good is very important. But if you are providing a service, the quality of your people is of utmost significance. So I want my people to be, internationally trained. I'll invest a lot into their training. If I'm Big Four, as soon as you enter the Big Four, you are not put to a job. You have an orientation program. They teach you about the clients. They teach you about safeguarding your data of your laptops, a lot of things. They invest into you. Why do they invest into you? Because they are expecting such kind of services from you. So there is a lot to learn. A lot to learn when you enter a Big Four. Today, what we are concentrating on is audit and Big Four. Audit, what is it? So ICAI, I don't know how many of you would know ICAI. This is Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. ICAI defines audit as, audit is independent examination of financial information of any entity, whether profit-making or not, irrespective of its size, legal structure, with a view to express an opinion on the financial information. Now, all those who are CA students would have already read this definition, would already know what it is. But those who are not and who are studying audit for the first time, this is the definition of audit, which we are now going to dissect to exactly know what is expected out of us. We need to be independent. Now, what is to be independent? You cannot be biased. There is no scope to be biased. You cannot be influenced by your client. You cannot be influenced by an outside expert. You are an expert and you will give your own opinion. What is examination? This is nothing but checking. Please understand that as an auditor, I don't do things for you. I come and check what has been done by you. So, that is the way an auditor works. We don't do things for your clients. When we are auditors, we check what they have done. So we do perform procedures called compliance and substantive procedures by which we check the systems of our client. What is this financial information? This is nothing but your P&L, your balance sheet, your cash flow statement, your notes to accounts. I'm sure all of us are commerce background students and we know what is a P&L, we know what is a balance sheet, we know what is a cash flow statement, we know what is notes to accounts. This is what our client hands over to us. And this is what we check, whether it is correctly made or not. Who can get an audit done? Now here they have very clearly said it is any entity. So they have not said you have to be a listed company. They have not said you have to be a large company with 1,000 people. No, nothing has been mentioned. It means each and every entity is eligible to get audit done. You could be a very small company. You could be a one-person company. You could be a Section 8 company, which is not earning profits. And still audit is compulsory for them because it's required by law. You could be a professional. You could get your audit done. You could be an HUF. You could be an LLP, a partnership firm, a body of individuals, a trust, a foundation. Anything and everything can get audit services. So, we have a large clientele. We can do audit for each and everyone. And what is the primary objective of doing audit? Why are we doing audit? When you've fallen ill, why do you go to a doctor? Do you go to a doctor to tell you, yes, you are ill? There is a problem, you are ill. Is that the reason why you go to a doctor? No. You know you are ill and that is why you need a doctor. You go to a doctor to get medicines. You want the prescription. You want to know how will you get better. The primary objective of doing audit is to express an opinion. This opinion could be a clean opinion where we say everything is fine, there is no problem, there is true and fair view, everything is rosy, no problem at all, you are good to go. But it could also be a modified opinion. In modified, you may give a qualified, adverse, or disclaimer opinion. So qualified is thoda problem. बहुत major problem नहीं है, थोड़ा problem है आपकी company. Adverse, बहुत problem. Boss, you need to work around this. There are major frauds happening in your company. Disclaimer. Now, as the name suggests, disclaimer says, I am not able to express an opinion. Sorry, you are not cooperating with me. It's like you go to the doctor and you sit there. You're just sitting. You don't open your mouth. You don't say whether your head is hurting or your eyes are hurting or your stomach is hurting or you have fever, nothing. You don't talk to the doctor. When the doctor says open your mouth, when the doctor says show your eyes, you're closing your eyes. You are not cooperating with the doctor. What is the doctor going to do? He'll prescribe you medicines. He'll give you a long list of medicines. He'll say you have some problem. No. The doctor will say, sorry, I'm not able to identify your problem. You are not cooperating. I will have to send you back. Likewise, the chartered accountant or the auditor is a doctor's doctor. Everybody needs a CA in life. Everybody needs a lawyer in life. Everybody needs a doctor in life. We are going to say the same thing. If the client does not cooperate with us, we are unable to express an opinion. So if we are asking for original documents to check whether the client has this XYZ land or whether the client has this XYZ plant and machinery, and the client does not confirm, does not dispel, nothing, the client provides us no original papers, we will have to issue a disclaimer. So this is primarily what audit is. Audit is not a fault-finding approach. We are not trying to come here to find faults with you or to find your frauds. No. During the course of audit, if I find a fraud, I will report on it. But if I do not find a fraud, I don't have to make any report on it. As long as I am following the basic principles governing an audit. As far as I am not negligent, I am not going to be responsible for any undetected fraud or error. And that is what audit is. Now, there is a common misconception that audits are bad, that we should not get audits done. This is not required, or they harass us. They keep asking for so much information. How can we give so much information? What if he breaches it and, gives it to somebody else? Sorry, but this is completely untrue. We are also professionals. We are supposed to maintain confidentiality. There is no way that an auditor will breach confidentiality. Audit reports are useful for not just the shareholders and management, but also for these external stakeholders, such as banks, creditors, public, and/or government. So everybody can use an audit report and rely more on your financials if you have audited financial statements. Audit is a form of investigation, but we are not suspicious. Auditors are not suspicious. We have something called professional skepticism, wherein we try to be inquiring but not suspicious. The process of audit is, of course, time-consuming, but businesses can benefit from audits. They can use the audit findings to improve finances, internal controls, expose the fraud risk, and help stakeholders to make more informed decisions. So that is why audit is very, very important. What are the different types of audit we have? So there's a long list of audits. Not all are compulsory. Some are optional. Some are still gaining advantage in our country, getting like, for example, an environment audit is not so relevant in India, but it is catching up. In recent times, we have something called ESG investing. ESG is environment, social governance investing. We want to know what is your social imprint of the corporate on the society where we live together. Let's understand these different types of audits and see if we can be a part of any of these audits. All of these audits are separate, departments in Big 4. So Big 4 will have a stat audit department, it will have an internal audit department, it will have a tax audit department, so on and so forth. So statutory audit. It is independent audit conducted by a chartered accountant holding certificate of practice. It is useful for all the stakeholders who read the financial information. The word is stakeholders. So it is not just shareholders, it is not just management, it is also government, it is also the customers and creditors of your client, it is the employees of your client, it is also the research analyst. Everybody reads audited financial statements. If we want to invest in a company, we want to know if this company is good enough or not. It is compulsory for all companies. The word itself is statutory. Statutory means it's compulsory by law. So every company which is registered under Companies Act 2013 or prior to that act, so Companies Act 56, they have to get an audit done. You have something called financial statements audit. The auditor will comment on whether a company's financial statements align with the applicable financial reporting standards. This is relevant for all entities, irrespective of its size and legal structure, to identify the risk of misstatement and express an opinion. See, for a company, we do the same thing. It's called stat audit. But if it is an HUF, if it is a partnership firm, if it is a proprietor concern, we do financial statements audit for them. Because for them, stat audit, aisa kuch hai nahi. They are not required to compulsorily get an audit done. So as mentioned, for stat audit, you need a CA having COP. But for financial statements audit, it's not mentioned. So anybody who has experience, expertise in accounts and audit can be a financial statement auditor. Internal audit. This is assessing the internal controls, processes, legal compliance, and protection of assets. This is a helpful tool for businesses to evaluate risk and identify actionable ways to improve performance. See, as the name suggests, internal audit is, within the organization. As the transactions take place, they want there to be a check on the internal management, internal personnel of the client. Sometimes it is also done by the personnel of the organization. So if you are an MCOM graduate, you could actually join the internal audit team of a particular company and you could be doing internal audit. The report is sent to management, board of directors, audit committee, everybody within the organization. So this report is not used by outsiders, but the insiders of the company. Income tax audit. Now again, as the name suggests, it's required under the Income Tax Act if your sales turnover or gross receipts exceed 1 crore rupees. This is to ensure financial information is reported correctly according to tax laws to verify the amount of reported tax being correct. Again, because it is required by statute, it will be done by a chartered accountant. GST audit. GST is goods and service tax. I'm sure you know about this indirect tax, which has replaced all your other indirect taxes like your excise duty, your customs, your VAT, your service tax. Now, what we have is a common law that's called the GST law. For every GST registered taxable person whose turnover during a financial year exceeds 2 crore rupees, you have to get a GST audit done. This is to verify the correctness of turnover declared, the taxes paid, the refund claim, the input tax credit availed, and to assess compliance with the provisions of GST. Again, because it is required under law, it has to be done by a chartered accountant. There is news that these audits will now be open to other professionals also. So till now, CAs had a monopoly in these type of audits, but very soon this will be opened up to a lot of other type of professionals also, simply because we don't have a lot of practicing chartered accountants. And because we don't have that, we want other professionals like CS, CMA, CFA, your cost accountants to be able to do these kind of audits. But the Big 4 has quite a big department to handle the income tax and the indirect taxes. Concurrent audit. This audit involves reviewing transactions as they take place. What is this now? Concurrent. As your transaction happens, they are going to do an audit. Now, this is relevant for very large organizations like banks, wherein, they have transactions running in thousands in a day. Imagine if a bank has 1,000 transactions in one day, and let us just assume it has 300 working days, there could be so many transactions. This is one branch. And then you have so many branches all over the city. How will a stat auditor come at the end of the year and do audit of all of these transactions. It's not going to be practical. And that is why for such large organizations, concurrent audit makes sense. So as the transaction takes place at the day end, you will conduct an audit there itself. So you will be there at your client's place all throughout the year and do the concurrent audit. You have secretarial audit. Now, as the name suggests, it is to be done by a company secretary. This is applicable for all public companies with paid up share capital of 50 crores or more. The secretarial audit is basically to ensure that you are complying with all the rules and regulations, the government notifications, everything. So whatever is the law that has to be followed by you, the secretarial auditor checks whether you have done this. So, the companies have to file a lot of forms with ROC. The secretarial auditor is going to ensure that you do it in time. This is the most exciting form of audit, which a lot of students look up to. It's called forensic audit. What is forensic audit? Forensic audit is basically trying to find frauds. When we are suspicious that a particular client has been doing a fraud, but we want to know how, we employ a forensic auditor. The Big4 has a very big team for forensic audit. Forensic audit is so confidential that you cannot even disclose the name of your client for whom you are conducting a forensic audit. These are evidences that they collect which will be used in a court of law at a later date to identify any kind of frauds happening in a corporate structure. This examines a company's financial records to identify illegal finance activity. It is required in case of suspicion of fraud, theft, inaccuracy in account balances. Forensic auditor will look for evidences that may be used in court or for conflict resolution among shareholders. Performance audit. Now, as the name suggests, this is generally for government agencies. Let's understand this. Say there is a private company which has some funds. Generally, as auditor, we don't tell them how to use these funds or whether they have used it correctly, accurately or not. We don't comment on it. But if it's a government agency, a government company, we want to know whether the government's money has been properly used or not. That is, if you are getting a grant of say 100 crore rupees to make a school, are you utilizing the money in the best way possible? That is, are you, having a school in a residential area? Is this area full of people who will use a government school? It should not be a very posh area, right? वहाँ पे government school बना के कोई मतलब नहीं है because people are not going to send their kids to government schools in that from that area. So the place where you are building up a school, the teachers, the infrastructure, do you have enough of food? Do you have enough of students, enough of capacity? All of that to check is called performance audit. Not done for non-government agencies. It helps identify if federal funds are used appropriately, if the government money is being used appropriately or not. Like, for example, to make a road, have you called tenders? Have you selected that contractor which has given the best tender? So best tender does not mean the lowest price. It means the best quality at the best price. And that is how you have to select. These are called performance audits. Okay. You have management audit, operational audit, single audit. What are these now? Management audit, as the name suggests, it is you are auditing the management itself. Whether they are using their strategies, resources correctly or not. This helps in better business performance and secure the future of the business. We want the client to have the best management resources. And we check whether the management is doing things appropriately or not. Operational audit. This reviews an organization's activities in relation to specific objectives. This evaluates operational effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity. This is finding opportunities for improving and developing the recommendations. See, operational audit is similar to performance audit. Now, performance audit is for government agencies. Operational audit is also for non-government agencies. So this is going to be done to check whether your particular operations like your marketing or raising finance or your sales or your inventory operations are running correctly or not. So you select one particular part of the business and you do an audit only for that particular part. Single audit. These are like report cards. These inform if the authority, if there are any problems with how the grantees use the funds. This is complex as the auditor needs to review the entire entity's compliance and internal controls. Let's understand this. A lot of times we have seen that government gives grants to schools. You have government aided schools. So what a single auditor will do is he's come to the school, check whether the money is being utilized nicely or not for the purpose for which it has been mentioned. And also, are there any frauds happening because of those funds? If the funds are unutilized or underutilized, then what do you do with the excess money? That is the job of a single auditor. He checks whether the grants given are appropriately used or not. So I am not auditor of this client, of this particular school. I am appointed by the government, the person who gives the grant, and I'm going to see whether you do it correctly or not. Like, at times there is something called corporate social responsibility. Today, the companies, the large companies which have like turnover of 200 crores or more, they have to donate 2% of their turnover to these organizations which run for the betterment of the society. So if I say I am Tata Consultancy Services, I'm a very big company, okay, a listed company, and I have given a grant to a particular NGO. I can get a single audit done to know whether this NGO is running appropriately or not. Okay. Information systems audit. Now, this is very, very important and, upcoming. You have a course called ISCA for this. So you have CISA and DISA graduates. These are courses run by ICAI, which help you study information systems control audit. These determine if the systems are safeguarding assets, maintaining data integrity, and operating effectively. Today's day and time, you will hardly see a client who, yes, does somebody want to say something? Oh, okay.
I think it was just a glitch.
Okay. Sorry, just one. Sorry. Yeah. So today you will hardly find any client who is not using computers to maintain his accounting data. So there will not be a single client who manually writes books. I'm sure since 11th standard, we are taught how to write books. We know how to make a balance sheet, how to make a P&L from the trial balance. We know all of that. But our clients are not writing books manually. So what do we have? We have the accounting softwares. The basic is Tally. Almost every concern will at least have Tally. But Tally is not the end of it. You have very complex ERPs like you have Oracle, you have Barn, you have more complex and customized accounting softwares. And sometimes we need to audit this software, whether it is operating correctly or not. Like to give you an example, while I was an auditor of Deloitte, we had this client which was a brokerage firm. Okay. And this brokerage firm client used to charge brokerage from its clients, which was 1% of the transaction value. So for example, if the transaction value is 100 rupees, 1% of it would be 1 rupee. Correct? So 1 rupee hits the brokerage account and 99 rupees has to be paid to the client. Okay, simple. Now there was a major glitch in the software. What happened is, this software calculated the brokerage 3 times. So 100 at the rate of 1% is 1. Then it did 99 at the rate of 1% is 0.9. Then 98.1 at the rate of 1% is again 0.9. So technically, 2.8 was credited to the brokerage account and the balance was remitted to the client. Jahan brokerage 1 rupee hona chahiye tha, wahan brokerage ho gaya 2.8. You may think, Miss, it's okay, no? Ankita ma'am, it doesn't make a difference. It's just a small amount. Let it be. No. This is when we are talking in 100 rupees, it's a very small amount. Now, what if the transaction is in lakhs of rupees? That is also okay. Chalo, let's let it go. But what about the penalty? SEBI Act says if you charge excessive brokerage, you will get a penalty which is 25 crores or the excessive brokerage charged, whichever is higher. So my client probably charged excessive brokerage of only 1.8 rupees. But 25 crores or 1.8, whichever is higher, 25 crores is the larger amount. My client will have to pay a penalty of 25 crore rupees. Chalega kya? Let it go? No. That is why our role becomes important as ISCA auditors, information system auditors. We need to identify if there is any problem with the information system, the accounting software that the client is employing. Also, at times, we don't want all data to be accessible by all employees. We want restricted data access. And that is also important because otherwise they get an opportunity to conduct a lot of or to be free to do a lot of fraud. And that is something we need to arrest. We have payroll audits. Now, as the name suggests, payroll is basically you are trying to assess or audit the way the client pays money to its employees. You analyze the company's payroll records and determine if they are accurate, timely, and complete. For many companies, annual or semi-annual payroll audits are recommended. Again, this is where your client has like thousands and thousands of employees. Like if your client is a factory and it has a lot of workers working 24/7 in 3 shifts, 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours. You want to know whether any bogus payments are being made on the name of employees. And that is where a payroll auditor becomes important to us. Employee benefit plan audit. Just one minute, please. Okay. This analyzes and evaluates your benefit plan's financial statements. A lot of companies, they deduct a particular amount from the company, from their employees' salary, and they invest it somewhere. So like it could be gratuity, it could be pension fund deduction, it could be any other kind of investment plan that the client has made. At times, we want to know whether the place where the money is invested, is that utilizing the funds properly or not? And that is employee benefit plan audit. It can highlight opportunities for improvement within the plan operations, efficiencies, controls, and how well the plan complies with select regulations. So all of that can be done under employee benefit plan audit. Please appreciate the fact that these audits are not compulsory under law. And because they are not compulsory, it is not necessary that a chartered accountant has to do this. So this is, a very big area where a lot of non-chartered accountants but commerce background students can come in and fill in the roles. The last two that we have is compliance audit and environment audit. Compliance audit is to check for compliance with government rules, standards, requirements. Government sets the requirements and hires an auditor to evaluate the entity's compliance with them. A lot of times the government feels that this particular company is not following all the rules and regulations. And that is why they appoint an auditor to check for compliances. This is very, very upcoming. India is a developing country. I'm sure you all know this, right? So a lot of, we have something called carbon credits. Have you heard this before? I guess you must have something called carbon credits. Now, these developed countries, they need carbon credits. They have excessive carbon emission, which is obviously harmful to the environment at large. And they need to buy these carbon credits. India is a developing country. We sell these carbon credits because we have excessive carbon credits. We are not polluting as much as we should be polluting the environment. And so we sell off these carbon credits to these developed countries to come and dump their waste into our lands. Now, obviously, with the changing times and with, understanding how environment is being negatively impacted by all of this, we are now trying to be more conscious about our impact on the environment. This is an environmental management tool for measuring the effects of certain activities on the environment against set criteria or standards. The purpose of this audit is to assess the nature and extent of the risk of harm to human health or the environment. A green audit report aims to review the measures taken by company to combat pollution. To every company, we want to know what are the kind of resources you use, what is the kind of technology you use. I am not too sure if you know about this, but India, when we go to buy technology from these developed countries, they don't sell us the first-hand technology. What they do is they sell us all their second-hand technology. Something that they've already used, abused, and now they've gone on to a better technology, they sell us that technology now, the earlier one. Now, as such, this is bad for our environment. And that is why you may have seen, with this Modi government, they are very keen on make in India, get the technology in India, you develop the technology and you make the product. We were one of the few countries who were able to come out with a medicine for this coronavirus as well. We were able to get our own, what do we call, the vaccines for coronavirus, and so quickly and so effective. This is primarily because we are trying to understand our impact on environment. We do not want to be so dependent on these developed countries to sell us the bad technology. We don't want to buy this bad technology. And that is why environment audit plays a very significant role these days. Again, these are not compulsory by law and thus can also be done by any commerce background person. You can do a little diploma course in environmental laws and you can become an environment auditor. Very soon, this is going to become compulsory for all the large companies. Right now, we are still in the transition phase where we are trying to understand how the corporates will take up this audit. Okay. So who can be an auditor? For all the statutory audits, you have a CA. For the secretarial audits, you have a CS, company secretary. But for all other audits, there is no specification. And thus, it is open to all who have reasonable knowledge and experience in the relevant field. What is the revenue of Big Four worldwide in 2021? From audit, the largest 50 billion US dollars is earned by Deloitte. So Deloitte is number one in audit out of the Big Four, followed by PwC, EY, and KPMG. Now, very recently, they came up with something called the Big Four split. ये जो अपन Big Four इतना stress कर रहे हैं, Big Four is now probably going to become Big Eight. EY has already announced that they are going to split into two divisions, one audit and one consulting. You know what happens if you are the auditor, you can't or you should not rather be a consultant for the same client. Of course, Big Four has been doing it in the past, and the regulatory officers have always been behind them to not do this. There's always been a pressure on the Big Four that if you are auditing, don't be a consultant to them because it makes no sense. You are not independent then. And that is why EY has already announced that the other big three are, the industry insiders feel that they will also follow this split practice, wherein their auditing division will be one division and the consulting division will be a separate division. Now, what happens? What is the effect of it? This will open up business opportunities for smaller firms, thus freeing up more space for smaller companies and democratizing the audit market. So, we will have more smaller mid-sized firms coming into the picture and probably now competing with the Big Four, if the Big Four split, that is. But EY has said that we are splitting. They are seeing it as a way of being more independent. The other three Big Fours will also follow suit very, very soon. How do you get into the Big Four then? It's easy. You have college campus, you have career fairs, you have placement drives, you have one-on-one hire through job portals, you have internal referrals. I was telling you, just ask a person who has been in Big Four or who is in Big Four, send your CV to them, ask them to recommend you, and at least get the first step on. That is, you get a interview schedule. So interviews run into online application. You may have a written test at times. You will have a partner's round and finally a selection. Once you are in the Big Four, there is only one advice for you. May the force be with you. It's not easy. The easy part was getting into Big Four. That was the easy part. You've done it. Okay, great. Now sustaining yourself through that is the difficult part. There are going to be lots of challenges. At the same time, lots of opportunities to prove yourself. What you will do in Big Four, you will probably not do anywhere else. With the kind of networking you will do in Big Four, you will not get an opportunity to do this anywhere else. The kind of approach you will have for your work will be so different, so much better. But yes, it is going to be, there's going to be lots of pressure on you, work pressure, peer pressure. There is going to be corporate politics. You cannot avoid it. There is going to be long working hours. You have to be dedicated to your job. There is going to be all of that. If you are ready for that sacrifice, yes, you are eligible to be part of Big Four. Since we are doing this for the MCOM and audit, I just wanted to put in a small slide for this. You have huge employment scope after MCOM. Because you've studied so much of accounts and so much of audit in your MCOM, you can be working in these big audit firms like the Big Four and the other mid-sized firms also. You could also work in the public and private sector as internal auditors, as concurrent auditors, as environmental auditors, as information system auditors. You are ready for both jobs as well as entrepreneurship. The kind of holistic, the kind of detailed studies that you are doing, you are going to be ready for everything. At the same time, it gives you an upper hand in all CA and related exams. Like once you are done with MCOM, cracking CA is going to be easy. Cracking CS is going to be easy. Doing your law is going to be easy. Getting any kind of job you may desire is obviously going to be easy. At the same time, internationally, you are better recognized if you have a postgraduate degree. So your 15 plus 2 is very important when you go international. Finally, I would like to conclude saying that the field of commerce is extremely diverse and exciting. So there are lots of things that you can be doing. If you are passionate about entrepreneurship, if you are passionate about the corporate structure, the way things work, yes, this is the place to be. So if you are in for anything to do with corporates, you have to complete your commerce background studies. The end of it is obviously your MCOM. Finally, I would like to conclude with saying, keep reading, keep learning. That's our aim in life. The more you read, the more you learn. And this is how you learn audit as well. There are no set patterns, no set standards. You have to keep reading them, keep applying them. And that is how you keep, learning. At the same time, you understand the possible opportunities you may get to apply these things that you have learned. You have to have an open mind. As an auditor, you should always be open to the possibility that your client will not tell you the complete truth. And that is what an auditor is so important, because he has to apply his mind. He has to be open to the possibility of fraud and then give an opinion. And that is why we as auditors are so relevant to the society at large. That is from me. If there are any questions, we can take that.
Yeah, hey Ankita, Guru this side. So
Yes,
my question is, like you have experience in Big 4, and you can also like join different MNCs in the world or in the India as well. But what attracts you to do practicing, and why not job?
Yes. So there are a few things, as I told you, long working hours. So after a point of time, you don't want to work so long. Like you cannot punch in every day in the morning at 8 o'clock and come out in the night at 12. You have a family life. You have people who are waiting to be with you. Like I remember there was a point of time when my mother said that if this is how you want to work, then you better move out of the house. I am not going to stay awake for you. This is what I got from my mother. I'm a 21-year-old, a CACS, very ambitious. I'm thinking I'm the best in this world. And what I'm earning is so high. There should be no complaint from my parents because I'm doing so much for them. And one fine day, she tells me that if this is how you want to lead your life, then you better move out. I can't wait on you like this. This cannot be your sleeping place. That's why I tell you, sorry. That's why I have to tell you that this is something you may sustain it, you may pull it through over the years, or if you have other things in life that are calling for you, then yes, you will have to somewhere compromise and try to make do with something else as well. For me, the significant point was when my mother said that she's missing, that she does not feel that I'm giving her enough time. So that is the point I realized, okay, probably I cannot pull it for many years. So of course I did it for like 2-3 years. I kept persuading her and I kept telling her, this is the last year, I'll put in my papers this Diwali. And I kept pulling it till I could. But then finally I knew that, okay, this is not going to run in future. And at the same time, I was always teaching. So I have always been teaching since 10th standard, like something or the other, some subject or the other I've been teaching since 10th standard. So I knew that I have a calling somewhere else. I knew that this is not it. I have to do more things. I have to probably write a book. I have to write blogs. I have to do this, that. There were more things to life than just a 9-to-9 job. And that is why I thought that, okay, this does not suit me entirely. But yes, what I have learned and what I am today, the way I do my work is primarily because of my exposure with Big 4. I mean, the initial learning years are very, very important.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Purvis.
Hi, Ankita.
Yeah,
This
hi,
is
Big.
Meghna.
Yes.
Yeah, hi. I wanted to know what are the challenges when it comes to cracking a Big 4 interview, and which Big 4 firm is the most challenging to crack?
Okay, so if audit is the place you want to be, then Deloitte is the best place right now, as per the revenue also. And even otherwise, Deloitte is a very, because I've worked with Deloitte, I know that it's a very chilled out place. The seniors are really nice. The alumni is good. They expect a lot out of you. At the same time, they invest a lot into you. So there's a lot of teaching that happens, a lot of orientations that happen, a lot of on-site training that happens. Okay. At the same time, cracking the interview, they see a lot of things. So, a Big Four does not just see your academics. It will also want to see what kind of overall personality you have. Like, are you participative? Is there more to you than just studies? What kind of things you can bring on the table for them? Like right now, probably you will join as an intern, so they don't want you to bring in clients. But probably maybe later in life, when you are a professional, they may be interested in seeing if you can bring in some clients for them. So that is also a point. At the same time, your confidence, your personality, even if you don't know something, don't say wrong things. Like if in an interview they ask you about a tax law and sometimes it happens, it doesn't come to you at that moment. You don't fumble. You very calmly say that, yes, I have read about this. Right now, I cannot recollect, but I can let you know in the next time we meet. Confidently handle a situation where you don't know something. Even as a teacher, sometimes it happens that out of the blue, a child asks something that probably I have not read, but he has read in the newspaper and he wants to know more about it. So I have to keep calm. I have to say, okay, right now we will not discuss this, but we'll take it up in the next class and we will, the whole class can also put in their inputs. How you handle a situation is of utmost importance. So your personality, the way you talk, your confidence, and of course, your academics. So all of this overall makes you a better prospect for Big Four.
Hi, Ankita.
Hi.
Thank you so much for the insightful session. We got to learn so much. Actually, I want to ask you one question. What skills a person can learn who just completed his MCOM, but who wants to be in Big Four? Like, other than CA and CS, if there is some other courses.
Perfect. So if you do not want to do CA and CS, there are other courses like CFA, there is CMA, there is LLB. So there are lots of courses out there in the market. You do that. If you do not want to do that, it is completely fine. You've already studied a lot. 15 plus 2 is quite a lot of years you've studied. You can take up a job as an analyst. They will obviously do on-site training for you. At the same time, it would be advisable to have some skills in their accounting software. Because you want to be a part of audit team, you must know how your clients write their accounts. So understanding Tally, understanding a little bit of Oracle, Bard, all of these soft skills that you can develop, if you can, that is going to be very, very useful. So after your MCOM exam, until your results come out, this is what you can do. At the same time, take up internships. Give yourself some time before taking up a job. Don't just think that as soon as I'm done with an MCOM, I should get a job which pays me like 6 to 10 lakhs per annum. That's not how it is going to work. They are not going to pay you so much unless they get the same out of you. So keeping that in mind, invest a little bit in terms of training on the job. And then, yes, of course, the sky is the limit.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Karan.
Yeah, I wanted to know one thing. Like for direct entry students, like how to score an interview in Big Four. Like
Okay.
what are the
So how do you
qualifications?
get an interview is your question?
Yeah.
The simplest way is, all these Big Fours have their online sites. Okay. And there they have the way of connecting with the HR. So you have to write an email to the HR. You have to keep calling them. Secondly, if you know somebody who is in the Big Four, all of us are from commerce backgrounds. We generally know somebody or the other who is in the Big Four. So getting a referral, getting a recommendation from them and asking them to send it to HR is also going to be useful. At the same time, like how your Mr. Nahata taught you all, cold emails, cold calls, do that. Anything that lands you the interview, do everything. Like I'll tell you how I got into Big Four. I am not very proud about it, but I was very adamant and I told my father that, Papa, I have to get into Big Four, And my father was like, you're very young because 12th standard and then thereafter we had to do our articleship. During my time, it was 12th and thereafter you have to do articleship. So my father was not keen to put me into a Big Four structure because they thought we are too young and, we may not work well. So because I was very keen, I made him make calls to so many people. Finally, we got some cousin who was in Big Four and, a lot of pleases and a lot of thank yous and a lot of this and a lot of that landed me my articleship with Deloitte. Once into it, then there is no looking back. Then you have to just perform on the job. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but if you are a 3-year article with Big Four, once you are a CA, the Big Four takes you not as an associate, but as a senior associate. So you already jump a hierarchy. So if a fresher chartered accountant would earn, say, 7 lakhs per annum, a Big Four article of 3 years would directly earn 10 lakhs per annum. So that's the kind of difference there is. But yeah, getting the interview, this is the only way. You contact the HR, you keep calling them, keep emailing them. You get people who are in Big Four, ask them to send your recommendation. That's the only way in. There is no other way.
Thank you.
Probably Big Four will come to you on your college campus also. So you can keep that also in mind.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, ma'am, for this amazing session. But I think we have to stop the Q&A for here today. We are running out of time. But I just want to say thank you so much. A Monday morning, 9:30, everybody joined in. I know everybody's super busy, but you guys, all of you joined in. And ma'am, you took out your really valuable time. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Even I have had a lovely time.
Yeah, I would also like to thank Dharti ma'am, who's not here today because she's in an exam. She has been a constant support. Jasbir ma'am, who's here with us today, she's a mentor and the vice principal, and Pooja ma'am, who has always been there for us. Thank you all the participants who have joined in throughout all the episodes. This was the last episode for this season. So thank you everybody for making this series a really successful one. We will be definitely sharing the certificates on the 31st of October and you will be receiving them. So that's it for this episode. Would Jasbir ma'am, if she's there, would you like to say a few words, ma'am?
I think she's traveling yet.
Okay. Well, that's it for the day, you guys. Thank you, everybody. This is Jiva Rocky from the MCOM committee signing off. Hope you guys have an amazing Monday.